My name is Omobola. With me are my colleagues Mark and Sophia. We shall be making presentation today on some lessons and principles for growth and expansion recommended to Malaysia SMEs to a Canadian multinational company, International Petroleum Company, is to understand the current capabilities and challenges faced by SMEs in Malaysia and help these SMEs find adaptable solutions for a sustainable performance. Like many SMEs across the globe, which contribute largely to the economy of their various countries. SMEs in Malaysia contribute 98.5% of the Malaysia businesses. They help in employment of graduates when the country is in economic going to economic plunge. They help resuscitate this company. So SMEs or the significance of SMEs in an economy cannot be overlooked. So despite the fact that these SMEs contribute so much to the economy at the domestic level, we realize that from the research as at 2015, they were only able to contribute 17.6% to the total economy of Malaysia in 2015. What could be the cause of this poor performance or low performance of Malaysia SMEs? The research paper discovered that part of the problem faced by these production companies are rising costs of production. For instance, at the time when the government of Malaysia increased the minimum wage, it increased the overhead of these production companies largely, and they could not, many of them could not afford the new overhead, they could not afford to pay wages and all of that. It led to closure of some of these businesses that they eventually went out of business altogether because many of them are limited to businesses and resources that they can get within the domestic environment of Malaysia. They've not had the opportunity of exploring, or they are not taking advantage of exploring international opportunities that can boost their economy. So with this low market, they have low market penetration and they cannot really compete competitively at the global market. To enable these companies to be able to compete at the global market, there are certain core concepts that they must put into consideration. These are the dynamic capability that is required. And the first one to consider is sensing capabilities. By sensing capability, we refer to the ability of a firm to always scan, search, and explore the market and technology. Applying these modern technologies to their businesses will enable these businesses to expand as required. It's also required for them to have the required investment on specific activities that can fulfill the modern day needs of their customers and obtain this new technology and understand the industry structure, that what is the latest thing now that the customers are required at the international market. So even if they acquire technology or they acquire new equipment and it's not leading to expansion, it's not leading to access at the international market, it's of no use to these companies. So they must be able to sense what is the latest thing, what is the new development in the global market, what are customers in need of at the moment, and they make production that aligns with the modern day um, requests and need of customers. Now, they must also be adaptive. By adaptive capabilities, we are referring to the ability of this firm to coordinate and combine and allocate their existing resources to any changes needed by customers in the foreign market. When they do this, when they reconfigure their resources, they will become attractive and they will become is sought after by customers at the international market, you know, and they can now take advantage of international opportunities. To combine this dynamic capability, they must be able to know what is the need. They must be able to identify and exploit the need at the global market, make products or services that aligns with this need, and be able to fill in that gap that is required at the international market, because it's of no use for them to make production that is only useful their domestic at the domestic level. It will not increase their profitability, neither will it generate their revenue, and of course it will continue to reduce their contribution to the exports revenue of the country. So SMEs must be innovative. They must be able to identify and exploit all these opportunities for economic expansion. And it is only when they do this that there will be increase in their export performance. In conclusion, from the Malaysian SMEs, for them to these SMEs, for them to take advantage of global opportunities, they must be adaptive and sensing capability for rapid changes in foreign markets, so that they can be able to compete very well with their counterparts at the global market through investment opportunity recognition. My colleague Mark will take over from me at this point. Thank you.
We will now switch gears and look at a Canadian-based company that can utilize some of the SME principles and capabilities talked about in the case. So without further ado, I'll introduce International Petroleum Corporation, or IPC. Now, IPC is a global energy leader committed to providing sustainable and innovative solutions that meet the world's growing energy needs. And while its operations, which is Canadian-based, span exploration, refining, renewable projects, and distribution across continents, the company has ties to Malaysia as it has operations in Malaysia, which makes it a fantastic company to compare to the case, as it can recognize the value of learning from small and medium enterprises in Malaysia. Now, SMEs are often agile, adaptable, and innovative in ways that large companies try to emulate, whether this is through efficient resource management, customer-focused solutions, or rapid adoption of new technologies. And by using these practices, IPC can enhance its own responsiveness, strengthen its supply chain, and drive continuous improvement. This collaborative approach not only supports mutual growth, but also fosters a culture of innovation and resilience that benefits both the company and the community in which it serves. And this is one of the reasons it is chosen for its global footprint and relevance to energy transition. We'll be looking at some lessons from the Malaysian SME case and trying to link it specifically to our chosen company, IPC. Thus, we'll be linking the aspects of the SMEs in Malaysia to IPC through four main principles. The first one being agility and adaptability, basically applying SME-style responsiveness to help IPC quickly adjust to global energy and market shifts. Second principle being efficiency and community trust, where lean operations plus stronger local engagement to reduce costs and enhance IPC's social license to operate. Third, opportunity recognition, where IPC can use sensing and adaptive capabilities to identify and seize new markets, technologies, and partnerships. And lastly, sustainable competitiveness, combining all the principles to strengthen IPC's long-term performance during the energy transition. Within the four guided principles, there are recommendations that IPC can utilize. The first one is straightforward, though. It's just straight up agility and adaptability. Now, Malaysian SMEs are known for being highly adaptable to market changes, regulatory shifts, and customer demands due to their smaller size and leaner structures. In terms of IPC, well, they can encourage decentralized decision making at regional Canadian operations to allow faster responses to local market conditions or geopolitical changes, and this encourages sensing capabilities. They can also implement pilot projects or agile units within the organization to test new technologies, especially in energy transition initiatives like carbon capture renewables. This furthers their sensing capabilities. For example, if the pilot project is a success, they can easily scan relative markets for upward trends in relation to these new technologies. Within the second principle of efficiency and community trust, it's important that IPC have some cost consciousness and have some lean operations. Now, due to limited funding, SMEs tend to prioritize lean operations and efficient resource management. In other words, they prioritize adaptive capabilities. IPC can learn from this and put it into their lesson plan, and IPC can apply lean project management in exploration or production projects, particularly in Malaysia, to reduce cost overruns and allocate resources effectively. This continually encourages adaptive capabilities. IPC can also encourage a zero-based budgeting approach where each cost must be justified annually. Lastly, they can leverage digital tools to streamline operations, similar to how SMEs adopt cloud-based solutions to reduce overhead. Continuing with the principle of efficiency and community trust, IPC can be engaged in the community and localization. Now, Malaysian SMEs thrive on strong relationships with local communities because they have to, because often there's customizable products or services that need to be met for the locals. Thus, IPC can strengthen local stakeholder engagement in countries where they operate, Canada, Malaysia, France, by developing a stakeholder engagement strategy tailored to each specific country. This can be done through mapping stakeholders where they can identify all key stakeholders such as the government, regulators, local communities, employees, suppliers, investors, etc. They can also assess and influence and the interest of each group and understand each group's power, expectations, and concerns. They can also tailor the engagement plans where they can develop targeted engagement methods and messaging for each stakeholder group. IPC can also use local procurement strategies to support host economies, similar to how Malaysian SME partners do with their local suppliers. Principle number 3 relates to opportunity recognition, where IPC can use some sensing and adaptive capabilities to identify and seize new markets, technology, and partnerships. This is where we recommend some diversification for any potential risks and basically risk management. Now, SMEs often diversify products or services to mitigate risk from market fluctuations. So for IPC, they can strategically diversify energy portfolios to include things such as renewable energy projects or downstream services. For example, they could explore the impact of large-scale solar farms in sun-rich regions of Canada, and they can also look at diving deeper into wind energy, particularly onshore and offshore wind projects, which have already begun to take shape across Canadian provinces. They could also introduce research and development partnerships with smaller tech firms, especially in Malaysia, to explore alternate energy or efficiency improvements. Continuing with the third principle of opportunity recognition, it's important to have proper networks and strategic alliances in place for sustained performance for IPC. Now, Malaysian SMEs often depend on industry networks, trade association, and government agencies for growth and survival. This is the same case with IPC. For IPC, they can form strategic alliances with local SMEs in countries of which they operate for joint ventures, especially for non-core services like logistics or maintenance. They can also collaborate with local or national academic institutions or startups to co-develop sustainable technologies or practices. Last principle, sustainable competitiveness. Now, it's hard to be competitive in a oil and energy industry if you aren't always up to date with regulations and incentives. You're not too sure if you could be fined from one day or you could get credit on another day. This is why it's important that they hone in on their government incentives and be aware of any policies. Malaysian SMEs are adept at navigating government grants and incentives, especially from the SME Corp. So IPC can identify and leverage green energy initiatives and tax breaks when available. They can also monitor and influence regulatory developments through the same proactive lens SMEs use in adapting to policy shifts. Canada's climate and energy policies are always evolving, and incentives are periodically added or modified. For example, new tax credits for hydrogen or clean electricity, and the same goes for oil and renewable energy. IPC should always be constantly monitoring and should have a policy or regulatory monitoring function within the organization. Based on the lessons learned from the SME case and the 4 principles provided with the recommended actions in the slides, we recommend a short-term, medium-term, and long-term solution for IPC, which make up our recommendations. In the short term, you can have pilot agile innovation units and strengthen local stakeholder engagement to boost responsiveness and trust within the communities that IPC operate. In the medium term, IPC can diversify the company's energy portfolio and build strategic alliances to reduce risk and expand opportunities. They can expand these opportunities again through sensing capabilities, or they can scan any specific trends or fluctuations in any market that they try to engage in. Lastly, in the long term, IPC can develop dynamic organizational capabilities that secure sustained global competitiveness in a rapidly evolving energy landscape. So, in conclusion, by drawing lessons from principles that drive Malaysian SMEs, International Petroleum Corporation, or IPC, can enhance its competitiveness, resilience, and long-term sustainability. Agility and adaptability allow IPC to sense opportunities and risks earlier, while lean operations help the company remain cost efficient in volatile markets. Community engagement and localized strategies strengthen trust and ensure that IPC remains aligned with the needs of diverse stakeholders across the many regions in which they operate. Diversification and strategic alliances expand IPC's capabilities, positioning it to thrive in both traditional and renewable energy landscapes. Finally, adopting the SME mindset of proactively navigating government incentives ensures IPC remains at the forefront of policy shifts in the global energy transition. Together, these learnings demonstrate that even the largest corporations, such as IPC, can benefit from the entrepreneurial spirit of SMEs, and why IPC is a great company to be compared to with the SME case provided in the class. Thus, by becoming more flexible, efficient, and community-centered, IPC can secure its role as an innovative leader in a rapidly evolving energy landscape. Thanks very much.